Seek aside a gleam on flaming wings. Sacred Heart, the soul enchanted saints. Blessed are we on this praising shore, blissfully gleaming pearls of lore. Pilgrims on these pastures green, seeking joy into lands unseen. Sacred Heart, a part of light, shine on bright, abiding heart. Sacred Heart, shrine of light, shine your beams, make us one and heart.
Once again, welcome all. And there is a few announcements for you participants. Kindly mute your audio as well as switch off your video during the time of webinar. And if you are any curious regarding presentation by a resource person, we will have time at the end of the session. And we will have time for interaction also at the end of the participants' presentation time. And Women's Cell of our college functions under the banner SOSTI, Women's Association for Service, Truth and Integration, 1990, and aims at empowerment of our girl students by the overall development and exploring their true potential. Last year also, SOSTI organized various service-oriented programs like hair donation, camp for cancer patients, finishing school, poster designing competitions, invited talks, and many more. And we have a very strong and vibrant faculty members in Team SOSTI. So now I cordially invite Ms. Tessa-Mary Jose, Head of the Department of Commerce and Coordinator of SOSTI, for the welcome speech. Tessa, ma'am, please. Tessa, ma'am. Please unmute your mic.
Yes, Miss. Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, all right. Respected Chief Guest of the Day, Dr. Beena Ma'am, IAS. Yes, as you know, the women.
Tessa, ma'am.
Afraid there is some problem with Tessa's microphone.
Tessa, ma'am.
It
Yeah.
is muted, it seems. Tessa,
I'll.
it is still muted. I believe
Yeah.
it's not audible.
Tessa, miss, you are muted.
Tessa,
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's okay.
Yes, it's our.
Start from the beginning or continue?
Yes, please.
You can continue.
Yeah.
To start from the beginning?
Yes,
No,
miss.
You can continue.
Parno, miss.
Can I continue?
Yes, yes.
Yes, you
Sure.
can.
Okay, fine. Okay. This year we are fortunate to have an eminent personality like Beena Ma'am to inaugurate the activities of our Women's Cell. We have been trying to organize a program of Women's Cell for the past 3-4 years, inviting Ma'am, but somehow it didn't materialize. But now I feel this is the most appropriate time to get her because we have her as a neighbor. She's the first, if I'm not mistaken, she's the first women chairperson of Cochin Port Trust. I welcome you, ma'am, on behalf of Women's Cell and also on behalf of Sacred Heart College to this program.
Thank you.
Also, ma'am has held various positions in her capacity. What I've heard about her is she is recognized as an eminent personality and a person of great attitude. We are privileged to have you here today in our midst to inaugurate this function. Secondly, I welcome Father Principal, who is always encouraging us and who is with us in whatever we do. Few others need special mention today. I welcome Aima Ma'am, Associate Professor of the Department of Botany, who is leading the internal complaint cell of the college. I also welcome Veena Venugopal, the India's first anchor who's delivering a small session here today. She's the organizer of Mind, an organization which is working for the upliftment of people with spinal muscular atrophy. I do mention and appreciate the efforts taken by Ms. Anu Cherian of the Essex School of Communication for preparing the brochure for today's program, and also her student Adira K.A. for designing the logo of Swasti. The activities of Women's Cell, especially today's activities, it's a joint effort of Jinu Miss, Princey Miss, Smita Miss, Aima Miss, and all the other teachers of this institution. I welcome all the Swasti members and all the faculty members to this program. I also welcome all my students to this program. Welcome all of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Over to Princey Miss.
Thank you, Tessa Miss. Our respected principal, Dr. Father Prashant Palkipillil, CMI, is here with us. He is the backbone of our college and is always supporting Swasti with his suggestions and novel ideas. So I request our honorable principal to address the gathering and to give your valuable inputs also. Father.
Am I audible? Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, Father. Yes.
I think
You're
there's some problem with my video right now. I'm not sure why it is. There's something being shown as not being able to connect. It doesn't matter. I'm audible, right?
Yes, Father.
Okay. Namaskaram, everyone. Very special namaskaram to Dr. Beena. We are really privileged to have you amidst us, ma'am. And you are in our neighborhood, and we really look up to you as a person who has shown how a woman can lead and succeed, and combining various disciplines in life, being a medical doctor herself, and then being our collector earlier in the district. We've had a very good leadership from Dr. Beena, and now she's heading this prestigious industry in our vicinity. We also look forward to your support and collaboration. As a small academic institution, we would always love that we have a tie-up with the industries around us, so that the students are able to link themselves with the industry. Thank you for your presence once again. And I also noticed the presence of Ms. Beena Venugopal. Your presence is really a matter of inspiration for many of us, and I hope more of it will be there. And we appreciate your effort, your involvement and your initiative through Mind. I hope many will be inspired to do good things in spite of our various constraints around us. And yes, our student Atira, I'm really happy to see this new logo. It has come out really well. And not only logo, the association is initiating an activity in spite of the COVID days. So it shows that we can overcome our barriers, and nothing is there which cannot be overcome. As the slogan goes, we shall overcome, and we are overcoming. And the Women's Cell is setting an example by overcoming the constraints and coming together, and in a very strong manner, and getting a very good platform to come together and get mutually inspired. So I appreciate the efforts of Adina also. And altogether, the Swasti, as the term indicates, is women's self-empowerment and also social outreach. It has been consistent work over the past many years, and I hope that the students of SH will appreciate the platform and give positive leadership for the women, who are the majority on the campus, to come together and involve and take lead, and positivity and creativity would take lead rather than divisive and vociferous tendencies amidst the student community. I hope that your leadership will definitely be helpful in that. I appreciate the efforts taken by our faculty team, especially Dr. Gino, Ms. Tessa, and Simone, and I hope many more are there. And our ICC, which was very dominant. We hopefully it's also good that we don't have many complaints, but then we are alert and we need to be compliant with the state's procedures, and ICC has become active since our last women's gender audit, and I hope that Dr. Ayman and Shanti and team will sustain it to the logical goal. With these few words, I don't prolong, and I wish the gathering the very best, and may the Sacred Heart of Jesus bless us all. I request you to please excuse me because I am in the thick of the admission, and many are waiting. So I will not remain full time. Maybe I will come and go in between. Namaskaram, Dr. Bina, once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for your inspiring words. Today we are presenting webinar on unlocking the potential within you as part of inauguration of SOSCI. And I would like to introduce today's chief guest, Dr. M. Bina IAS. We rarely get this kind of opportunity to listen an eminent personality like Bina ma'am. And Bina ma'am, actually she is native of Trivandrum, and currently she is in charge of chairperson Cochin Port Trust since 2018, and she is actually a medical doctor by profession and got into Indian Administrative Services from Kerala Cadre in the year 1999. She has served in various capacities in the state, including assistant collector, sub-collector, director of various departments. She has also served as district collector of Thrissur and Ernakulam. She was the managing director, KSIDC, and CEO Smart City Trivandrum prior to joining Cochin Port Trust. She was also the managing director to the Roads and Bridges Development Corporation, Vitala Mobility Hub, Kerala Books and Publications Limited, and Supplyco. During her service period of 20 years, she had multifaceted experience in various sectors like infrastructure development, transportation, industrial development, airport cargo handling, and financial services, etc. As District Collector Ernakulam, she has also been closely associated with the activities of Cochin Port Trust, especially during the construction of International Container Transshipment Terminal, and she also associated with many prestigious projects like commissioning of Petronet LNG, phase 2 expansion of BPCL, laying of GAIL pipeline, etc. Under leadership of Dr. M. Bina IAS, KSIDC achieved highest record profit in the year 2015-16. So it's my honor to invite Bina ma'am for the sharing of her experiences with us. Ma'am, please.
Good afternoon, friends. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah. Respected Principal Reverend Dr. Prashant Palekepalli, Ms. Tessa Miri-Jose, who is the moving spirit behind today's program, Dr. Ginu George, our anchor, Ms. Princey. At the outset, Princey, thank you for the nice words. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure interacting with you, with all of you, because SH College is something, it's an institution I have a great regard for, right from the days when I was district collector. It's a very beautiful institution in Cochin, and it has such a reputed academic background. In fact, I will say the plus point of a college like SH College is that it does not restrict itself to academics alone. In fact, you are looking at a well-rounded personality development, which is exactly what today's generation is looking for. Is there a connectivity problem?
No, ma'am. Participants, please mute your mic. Participants, kindly mute your mic.
Okay. To proceed, today we are inaugurating the activities of SWASTI, which is the women's cell of Sacred Heart College. In fact, it was a couple of days before, that is on the 15th of August, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji in his Independence Day address was mentioning about women and the contribution of women to the development and progress of the nation. In fact, his words, he was quite eloquent. that while we have women toiling in our coal mines, we also have women fighting fighter planes in the Indian Air Force. So basically, women have entered into every nook and corner into all arenas of human activity. And that is certainly something which is a matter of great pride, because India is a country which had a lot of regressive customs and rituals when it came to women. And today we have reached a position where women have come to the fore in almost all the vistas of life. So that is definitely something which we can be proud about. There have been recent decisions of the government in terms of giving commissioned rank in the armed forces. Recently, there was a decision of the Supreme Court which puts women at an equal right with men when it comes to ancestral property. So definitely a lot of positive things are happening. A lot of women have empowered themselves. They have educated themselves. They have come into the forefront of things. But having said that, there is also a negative side to it. There are incidents which continue to haunt each one of us. In fact, something which I recollect, and I'm tormented by the memory of a CBSE topper girl who was a CBSE topper from Haryana, and she was gang raped on her way to or back from her tuition center. So on the one side, there has been considerable progress, but on the other side, crime against women is something which the country is still grappling with. And it is far worse in the northern states of India in comparison to the state. Not that Kerala is all fine and rosy, but things are much worse in those states where the overall development indices are also lagging behind. So in fact, the learning point you can have is that when a state invests in women's education, when a state invests in women's empowerment, automatically we are also ensuring that the society as a whole progresses. In fact, I often quote Amartya Sen's saying, in which there's a book of his in which he devotes a chapter to Kerala's women, and he comes out with a finding that because Kerala invested in its women, because Kerala invested in the education of women, Kerala has gone ahead on all social fronts. So it is actually, the two are interlinked. Need to aspire. But having said that, there are many other issues. The most important is we have educated our women. We want them to come to the workspace. But on the other hand, on the bus, on the roads, on the train, we are not able to give her a safe environment. In fact, the safety in public places and crime is, I will say, the fundamental issue that women are grappling with. Now, because I'm addressing a group of youngsters who are, I believe, are still not, mentally divided or regimented into stereotypical values, I would advise you that while you see girls studying along with you in the classes, working along with you in the workplaces, let us not stereotype women, because we still have an issue. While it is not an open discrimination, there is a certain differentiation. We sort of say that some things are good for women, some things are not so good for women. So when you visually imagine a nurse, you have a mental picture of a lady. When you imagine mentally and visualize, let's say, a scientist, we have the mental picture of a male. I think this stereotyping is something which we should get rid of. And even personal qualities. In fact, at home, my daughter is a very ardent feminist. So at home, we have this regular conversations. In fact, my son likes to cook, whereas my daughter doesn't enter the kitchen. But a boy is no less a boy because he cooks. A boy is no less a boy because he cries when he's upset. And a girl is no less a girl because she talks loudly or laughs loud. So I think my simple point will be that while we celebrate the achievements and accomplishments of women, let us also go deep within ourselves and try and break those glass barriers which we have created in our own mindsets, in our own attitudes, in our own visualizations. So these, the gender stereotyping which we have within us, I think it is time that we reached out and brought it crumbling. Now, I think I will rest my case on women there. I'm sure a college like SH College, which is already very forward-looking, need not have more inputs on that. I would now just move on to the youth of today and the constraints or the challenges they face in today's world and the good things about them. In fact, very often you have a negative version of the youth. They say, in Malayalam, you call them, they are the freakenmar. They don't take baths regularly. They are not clean. They don't pay respect to their elders. But I have worked in the flood management of 2008. As you all remember, that was the worst floods that Kerala had. And I used to go to these collection centers in Trivandrum. I was in charge of monitoring the collection centers in Trivandrum. So in all those collection centers, I saw that it was the youth whom you regularly, you say that they have no social commitment, they have no commitment to the family. It was the youth which had come out in huge numbers. And they were, spending their time and their efforts to help people whom they have not even seen. The people who were suffering in the other districts, they had no relationship with them. They didn't know them. In spite of that spirit of volunteerism amongst the youth was something which really struck me. In fact, quite recently, I don't know whether you have taken note, there was a Karipur plane crash, and there was this WhatsApp message going along in which the WhatsApp message actually applauded the service spirit of the locals who came out in large numbers. But there was a small mention about, again, the freakens. In fact, it was said that in front of Kozhikode Medical College Hospital, the freakens had assembled, and they were talking to each other. They said what they talked to each other was, okay, here the blood bank says they don't require any more blood. Let us go to some other hospital. So what I'm trying to say is that the new generation, though there are a lot of people who sort of say that, the new generation is lost, they don't have discipline, and a lot of negative things. I believe that the new generation holds a huge amount of potential within it. In fact, Ms. Tessa was speaking about the unlocking of that potential within you. I think more important than your skills or your attributes, it is those human qualities and human values which is already there within you. That is your greatest strength. Your greatest strength is that you really, though maybe to the outsider, you are a person with headphones who is not paying attention to this world. But deep within, you are human beings who care deeply about your brethren who need your help. You are human beings who are not divided by narrow domestic walls, as Tagore would say, because there's a whole lot of inclusivity, a whole lot of positivity when it comes to segregations. The youth of today do not segregate. They do not divide people in their minds, either based on caste or religion or even sexual orientations. So there is a lot of inclusivity, a lot of deeper understanding, in fact, which our generation, we did not have that. That I'm seeing in today's younger generation. And I think, so that is the fundamental foundation of the potential within you. Because the foundation of human values, which I believe earnestly that you have in abundance, think that should form the foundation of any construction or any value upgradation that you do. So that foundation of human values, let it remain, let it strengthen, let it further blossom. So that is what I have to, that is my fundamental point. Now, coming to today's educational system, again, we are in the thick of current events. A new educational policy has been laid in place. There are a lot of pros and cons, positive opinions, negative opinions. But I think there are certain things which we have been talking about for a long time, which we now see in this new education policy. The most interesting being flexibility to choose one's own courses. Because it is not that, from 10th standard, you have to move in a certain direction. You have to take certain subjects and you will be bound by those subjects through the entirety of your academic career. So here you are talking about more flexibility. So maybe a science student would like to learn some music. So that flexibility, I think, is a very positive attribute that is emanating out of the NEP now, as to when it is going to happen, how it is going to happen, whether the essence will be lost in the implementation. These are all things we can further discuss upon. But fundamentally, I think that flexibility is a very positive thing, so that students can mix and match their subjects. I also noticed that many of our students, when they reach 11th or 12th, they still don't have a set idea. They have not made up their minds. They're not very clear as to whether I should take this course or that course. So this flexibility will actually help them, so that they have an exposure to a couple of different varying areas, so that once they can decide upon what they really want, they can go forward on that. And the NEP also speaks about based on the year you complete, whether you get a certificate, whether you get a diploma, whether you get a degree, the credit system, the importance for research, shortening of the PhD. So all these are, I would say, by and large, welcome changes. But ultimately, it is how these are going to be implemented that is where the real challenges lie. So the point I was trying to say is that flexibility should be the core of educational system. And there should, in fact, when we were students, we had this linear algorithm. Now, if you are a good student, you go into either engineering or medicine, there's a straight line track that you were supposed to take. But now that linear algorithm has changed. There are doctors who later on take management degrees. Even so, already we are having that. We are seeing that. So it actually stands testimony to the fact that this lateral changes. It stands proof to the fact that there is a requirement for lateral movement. Now, whether you need to actually wait for the student to complete the degree and then move on. I think that lateral movement, that flexibility for lateral movement is something that is required. In fact, I just seen a question in the chat box as to why I made that lateral movement, because I was going in a certain direction, then I took a lateral movement. In fact, let me be very honest with you. I'm not proud of that, but let me be honest with you. I have been a rather risk-averse person. See, the point is that when I completed my pre-degree, I got medicine, I got engineering, but at that point of time itself, I had the small idea of joining the civil service. And I had a love for English literature. So I went and met my English teacher. I was a student of Women's College, Mr. Vijay Kumar, a very famous English teacher. But he advised me, in fact, that, okay, English literature is a great subject. But for you, a better choice would be medicine. In fact, he pushed me into medicine. I went into medicine, and after medicine, I wrote the exam. Now, medicine is no doubt a noble profession. It is a very important profession. But for me, what really mattered was, see, I might have, those who have heard, those who have listened to me earlier, this might be a repetition. But fundamentally, what I felt was, when I'm in my consulting room and I'm practicing gynecology, I was doing my MD in gynecology when I got selected for the civil services. Now, when I'm in my consulting room, I'm dealing with women. I'm dealing with the health problems of women. I'm dealing with those patients who walk into my consultation room. I have no control on the world beyond that. Whereas in civil service, the canvas is huge. You are the population that you reach out to. But today I'm in the state cadre. I reach out to the state of Kerala. Tomorrow I may move to Delhi, where I can reach out to the entire nation. So in terms of the magnitude of the canvas in which you are working, there is absolutely no comparison. Civil service gives you a much greater exposure. Number two is the variety. Now, when I'm a doctor, I do medicine till to the end of my life. Whereas as Princey read out my CV, I have worked in PSUs, I have worked in ports, I worked in social justice, I worked as collector. So this kind of varied opportunity, that is something which only the civil service can offer. But these were the two main reasons. In fact, I had a third reason also. When I was asked in the civil services interview that, look, why do you want to make this switch? So the way I presented is, when a child comes with diarrhea or food poisoning or dysentery, the doctor can cure that, the dysentery or diarrhea, whatever. Whereas the underlying problem would be a lack of sanitation facility, maybe might be lack of safe drinking water, which a doctor can't do anything about. That is where an administrative service officer comes in. So this was the fundamental for me to go into the service. In fact, interestingly, my optionals were medicine and zoology, because I just saw a message somewhere from a zoology student. I feel that medicine and zoology are allied subjects. So at those times when I wrote the exam, we had to take two options. And since medicine was what I had studied all these years, for me it was quite easy. And zoology was an allied subject. Basically, I could manage the two reasonably well. And in fact, it is said that I got more marks in zoology than people who actually studied MSc zoology, who are zoology graduates. So within a period of 2-3 months, I was able to learn the subject. So zoology is actually a reasonably good subject, a reasonably good scoring subject also. So to come back to my what I was trying to say, that is, I digressed from the NEP and the flexibility which NEP gives. Now, one reason why students in India are not able to, they are still very confused as to what subject they want to choose, is that they lack exposure. See, I have a cousin brother who is in the US. His daughter, when she was in the 8th standard, she had full clarity as to what she wanted to do in life. Because there the schooling system and the education system is in such a way that there is a lot of exposure to the various sectors of work. So in her case, she decided that she wanted to be an immunologist when she was in the 8th class. So that kind of direction you get only if you're exposed to these subjects, when you're exposed to various career options at a much younger age. Now, unfortunately, in our state, the system does not allow this kind of exposure or interaction. So it will be my request to the college authorities as to how to give greater exposure to our students. Now, it can be something simple as taking them to, let's say, Cochin Port. In Cochin Port, they will have an exposure to the marine sector, to the traffic sector, to the finance sector. So exposure visits seems to be an easy option. I'm sure you are doing some exposure visits. But I think what Kerala fundamentally lacks is we don't have enough industries for our children to have a proper exposure. So while we have been talking about industry academia participation, industry academia partnerships, we have not been able to make too much of headway. Though we have tried various models, we have tried an institute management committee, which has members from the local industry. But the way American universities contribute to their industries, the industry takes the technology which is freshly brewed out of the university and works on it and converts it into business projects. And the academia learns from the problems of the industry because they see it firsthand. So that kind of integration, unfortunately, we have not been able to build. There are issues with the industry also. I'll be coming to that shortly. So my appeal to the college authorities will be, one, to institutionalize the industry academia interface to whatever extent is possible, because we have limitations in our state. But given that, whatever can be possible, we should take a look at. And another thing I had mentioned earlier was the spirit of volunteerism, which is there amongst our students. So why should we wait for a flood or a plane crash to bring out the goodness within you? Why can't we institutionalize it? So I don't mean that, I don't mean to restrict ourselves to, let us say, NSS or NCC, but why can't every student, why can't we, let us have a tie-up with maybe old age homes, maybe with orphanages, maybe with backward places or slums. In fact, near Cochin Port, we have the slums of Vathuriti. So why can't we institutionalize this? Let us say every Sunday or maybe once in 2 weeks. If the college can organize that, I think that will be, the society will win, the college will win, and our students will win. It will be a total win-win situation. So these are two suggestions I have to put before the college. And now coming to the very interesting scenario that we live in today, that is our job environment. Now, in fact, earlier answering that question, I had the option of going to civil service while I had a medical degree in my pocket. So there was zero risk at all. In fact, before I joined medicine, I had secured both entrances. So had I not got into medicine, I would have had an engineering degree. So that kind of risk averseness, today's society, you can't have that kind of safety cocooning. Because today's workplace, the way technology has been disrupting the way we do things, I think our students, while they pass out, in terms of career, in terms of choosing a career, in terms of planning their career, will have a lot of challenges. In fact, the sad thing is, I'm sure you're all keeping track of what is happening in PSC. Fundamentally, see, government is only a very small portion of the entire state. So why is government job such a preferred job? In the sense that, people spend years just to go to PSC coaching centers so that he or she can become a clerk in a government institution. So I feel that we should open ourselves up to the private sector. One, in general to the private sector, so that we have more private institutions and we change this mindset of, looking only at government jobs and sort of take more risk. Unlike in my case, where I was a very risk averse, I think this generation, in fact, my children assure me that they want nothing to do with government. So today we are in a situation which is supposed to be a VUCA environment. Volatile, complex, ambiguous, uncertain environment. So And there is technology which is taking away a lot of our jobs already in the manufacturing sector. A lot of jobs have been taken away, especially in the automobile manufacturing segment. A lot of changes have come in. Now, tomorrow we'll have self-driving cars, so the entire driver sector will be taken away. We have softwares like Watson in the medical sector, in the legal sector. So the softwares will replace a lot of jobs. So there's a huge risk of job losses in the years to come, whether it will happen today or whether it will happen in 5 years, but definitely it is there. So when you talk of industrial revolution 4.0, and you talk about AI and robotics and IoT, we look at it as something which is going to come. What we don't realize is that it is already there. Can I, maybe 10 years back, visualize myself talking to a phone, Siri call my PS? Can I visualize, could I have visualized 10 years back that my phone will, my car will talk to me and say, take a right turn after 10 meters? So already this has come. Even when you surf on YouTube, you watch one video, then the artificial intelligence behind it will list you a list of videos which are related to what you're watching. So this is already at play. So you don't have to mentally visualize robots actually walking on the road. Robotics and artificial intelligence has actually have arrived, and they will be proliferating in the near future. So how it is going to impact the jobs? Yuval Noah Harari, he says that we can't really predict anything. So all you can be prepared for, all you can instill and imbibe in our students is the ability to learn. But as Alvin Toffler puts it, the 21st century illiterate is not a person who cannot read or write. The 21st century illiterate is a person who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So I think this should be a fundamental focus. While you give factual information to children, while you give information and data, we should also teach our children how to analyze it, because what is important is the thinking. Now, if we can equip our students to think creatively, think independently, so that will be a value addition. That will be bringing something to the table. And the ability, and give them that the permanent ability to continuously reinvent themselves, continuously to learn. I think that will be the greatest gift that a college education can give to you. Now, there is also another area which Tessa had mentioned. I had worked in the industrial development department. So there I found that there are certain students who are willing to take the risk, who are willing to apply what they learn and do something on their own. So instead of writing PSC tests, instead of giving somebody a bribe to get into a cushy job somewhere, they started creating jobs. And in my entire career, I would say one of the most satisfying experiences I've had was supporting startups. So the startups, maybe Cochin has not done as good as Bangalore, but definitely startups have made a mark. And in fact, though Byju's is not typically Kerala grown, we refer to Byju as our own. And that is a role model for all of us. To how to leverage technology and start something on your own and actually do a value addition to the society. So that is an area where I would request the college to sort of handhold our children. I'm sure SH College has taken a lot of steps. In fact, unfortunately, I could not come and visit and understand your initiatives at that point of time. Definitely, I'd be looking forward to that one of these days, maybe after the COVID issues are there. So entrepreneurship is another area which I would suggest to the students, because maybe, see, in terms of entrepreneurship, It's not that, you start a venture, immediately you become Ambani. No. 90% of startups are bound to fail. That is the international statistics. But having said that, it is an experience. You're actually doing something. In fact, in today's world, your wealth or prosperity is not related to your bank balance or number of houses or the kind of material wealth that you have. Your actual prosperity is, what have you done in your life? What is the kind of experience that you hold? So I would appeal to at least some of you, maybe not everyone, but some of you who have that spark within you, after you pass out, to do something, to discover your passion and do something that is close to your heart. Government of Kerala and Government of India, they have a lot of schemes to support. I'm sure the college also will have a lot of ideas, incubation center and ideas to support you. So I would appeal to you to make use of it. Now, one last area I wish to, because now that we touched on entrepreneurship, and I worked in industries department, I also wish to just fleetingly talk about the lack of an industry-friendly culture in our state. Recently, there was a YouTube video where somebody was, somebody was rearing some chicken in a small unit, and the locals created a big issue saying that, no, you can't have it. Actually, it was as per the norms, but still the locals he had to close it down. So this attitude, see, you will understand it once you start doing something on it. I believe that entrepreneurship should be celebrated. Now, if I get 1 lakh rupees today, I will keep it safely in the bank and get the FD interest. Now, an entrepreneur is a person who is taking this money, who is risking it to do something creative. I think it is something which should be supported, which should be applauded. So rather than put, roadblocks to entrepreneurship, because I often say that Kerala is one big residential colony. From Kasaragod to Trivandrum, you have only houses. What else do you have? What else creative do you have? So anything pertaining to a residential colony, you'll have small shops, you'll have hospitals, you'll have schools to educate your children, but nothing beyond that. Kerala is one state where we had a system where the government, during Maharaja's time, so many PSUs were started. The PSUs have all become defunct. But the industrial capability, the entrepreneurial ability of the Malayali is now not being fully tapped. So that calls for a change in mindset. So that is a lasting point I would like to place with you. There are 1 or 2 points more. Maybe I can take a few questions, and thereafter, as part of the interaction, I'll come to these points. So, shall I pass on to Ms. Princey?
Yes, ma'am, sure. Participants, we have interactive session here. You can post your questions or queries in the chat box, and I will pick that questions and will convey to Beena ma'am. Ma'am, we have few questions in the chat box. First two, I think you were also already answered that questions. Third question is from Ananya Nair. Her question is, ma'am, how long did it take for you to prepare for civil service exams? Could you please share your experiences?
Okay. Now, my answer might not be a typical answer, and maybe I just got a little too lucky. But actually, it didn't take too much time. Maybe some of you have read my earlier articles would know that I joined MBBS. Now, I completed house surgency, and we had after house surgency, there's a PG entrance. Now, PG entrance was, I think, the last week of May, and the civil services entrance, that's the preliminary, was on the first week of June. So there was just 1 week difference between the 2 exams. So I knew that, IAS is not a full guarantee. So I needed to look at the other options. Again, I repeat, I was a very risk-averse person. So I needed to try both. So what I did was I took medicine as my option. I took so that I could prepare on the same subject. I gave both the entrances, and I got both. I mean, I got admission into PG into gynecology. I also got admission to write the mains. Now, mains exam was in the month of October. So it is that gap that I utilized for the preparation of the mains. So unlike people who sort of take 1 year off and do the preparation, so I sort of did it on the go after house agency. I wrote the PG entrance. I did this. In fact, after writing the prelims, I even joined PG. I started attending PG classes. Then the mains result came. Then I took leave from PG. Then prepared for the mains. I wrote the mains. Again, I went back to my PG gynecology. I was taking my labor room duty when the interview call came. Again, I stopped it there, went to Delhi, attended the interview and came back. So mine is, I will say, an atypical progression. I was very lucky because I didn't have to take even a single year off to actually prepare. But having said that, I had a big advantage in the sense all through my schooling, my college phase, I was good in essay, I was good in elocution, I was good in quiz. So these are the basic things. So for me, a lot of things was easy. So while a new entrant would have to slog to learn new things, for me, a lot of things was already given. So I don't think mine is a model we can just straight away emulate, but I would request you to take this learning point that having a general GK background actually really helps. Yes.
Thank you, Beena ma'am. We have next question from Tessa Miss. Her question is, as a teachers, we find it difficult to motivate students of today. Do you have any advice for teachers as to how to motivate students who are the future citizens?
Tessa, actually, this is something which I am grappling in my home. I'm not able to motivate my two children because see, today's children are very different. In fact, when I was a student and my parents gave me some lofty goals, so I single-mindedly, without the same the same temptations of today was there at that time also. But for me, it was not difficult to fully focus on studies and fully focus on the goal which I had taken was very easy. But today's world is very different. In fact, our children are netizens. They live, they breathe the net. And the net is a very different place. They're exposed to a huge lot of information, huge lot of ideas. So it takes the entire 24 hours there on the net. In fact, my daughter, when she goes to sleep, very often after she goes to sleep, I have to come and close the laptop because the laptop will be running, some video will be running. But having said that, how to motivate our students? See, today's the career goals that you give to students might not really enthuse them. It is important that these students, they find out what they are passionate about. And unlike my generation or our generation, it will take some more time for them to actually find out their passion. But I think when you try and motivate students, let it not be to reach X goal or Y goal, but just motivate them to ensure that they explore enough, that they get the correct exposure. You expose them to various alternatives and sort of open their windows. You give them a chart and ask them to follow, they're not going to do that. But you give them the exposure, you give them choices. And once they are involved in that selection process, maybe they will be more motivated. At least this is what I can say as a mother of my two children.
Thank you, Beena. Our next question is from Devi Krishna. It's a little bit long. Her question is, ma'am, you were talking about choosing a career in an early age, but the choice of careers before the students in their early age may be changing. while they grow up, as the career opportunities are also changing over time. So in that case, choosing a career in an early age is applicable.
I think that is a very good question, Devi. I really appreciate that question. In fact, I had mentioned both these in my talk, if you might have noticed. So while I was saying that choosing a career in an early age, I think more than a career, it is an area of interest that you can sort of zero in at an early age. But as you very correctly observed, and what I mentioned in the technology, disruptive technology section, the careers are changing, even sectors are changing. In fact, though, even if you find out your passion and your area, see, basically, if you love music, if you identify that you have a love for music at an early age, now what you do, how you do, whether you do it on an instrument or whether you do it on a computer, that is different. So I would appeal to you to find out your area of interest. The actual career choice is something which you can do only at a later stage.
Thank you, ma'am. Participants, you can post your questions. Yes, ma'am, we have another question from Kavya. Ma'am, which is better, going for civil services directly after UG or going after taking a PG as a backup plan?
I would suggest that you should try it right after UG, because I don't see PG as a backup plan. Because see, you would have to be equipped with a PG syllabus also, because the kind of knowledge that they are looking for will include the PG syllabus also. But that doesn't mean that you should actually do a PG to get that knowledge. In fact, I have come across lots of youngsters, but my ACUT, Mr. Keshavendra Kumar, he did BA in literature. He was 21 years old when he got into the civil service. So I think after UG, you stand a good chance. And I think I would say that understanding the exam is also very important. So basically you roughly have some 3 to 4 chances. So please don't wait till PG and you complete everything to attempt. At least you should give one shot right after UG or while doing your PG, so that you understand the exam. The exam itself is quite complicated. So it might actually take a try for you to understand the exam itself. And I think it is doable also, because a lot of good kids, I mentioned Kesha, there's another guy called Vinod Rao who again qualified, who did BA history, and straight away he became All India second rank. So that is definitely doable if you are ambitious enough and you're given the right exposure. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. We have next question from Asha, ma'am. Could you please speak in some more details about how a student who has no exposure to entrepreneurship can get ahead with a startup and support systems from government?
Okay. Yeah. So basically, a student who has had no exposure to entrepreneurship, it should not happen. At least no student from SH College should come out and say that we have had no exposure to entrepreneurship, because a lot of colleges are doing very good programs. They're giving good exposure. Now, in the government, you have 2 agencies. I will say mainly the Startup Mission, which is coordinating all these startup activities. They have various schemes. There is seed funding, there is acceleration grant, they have got incubators. So basically, they can give you the money, they can give you the infrastructure to help it, and they can also help you market it. And even in government procurement, we have a system whereby up to 5 lakhs, you can straight away, without a tender, you can purchase from a startup. So, I think there's also another thing whereby you can take a break in your degree, go and join a startup, do something and come back. So there are multiple options available. I'm slightly out of touch because after joining Port, so whatever I've told you was, that is, I'll say it is 2018, 2017-18. So maybe new schemes have come up, but I would advise you to go to Startup Mission, KSUM website, and there you'll get a lot of information. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. We have another question from Anne Lopez. Good afternoon, ma'am. Isn't it possible for a person to have multiple areas of interest? What should a person do in such a situation?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, this is exactly what I said. that, you know, courses should have flexibility. And that is what I thought I will say that the USP of the new economic policy is. So while, as I already said, I had a passion for English literature, I also got into medicine. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't do both at that point of time. Maybe medicine is too far-fetched, but you can definitely, or you should be given an opportunity to do both, to study both. In fact, to share with you, my daughter, she got through lots of entrances, ICER, NICER, QSAT, she got the BTech computer, but she has opted for an integrated course in BITS Pilani. Now, that integrated course, she is doing economics and she's also doing BTech electronics and communication. So what she's saying is that her, you know, data analytics from the engineering side plus the economics joining together, that will help her get a good career in finance sector. So that integration, so one, you can just have entirely divergent, like for example, music and science, which might not actually help you to converge. So that you are following two different passions that you have. Another way is to have sort of two divergent, but which can be linked in some way and sort of strengthen your case. So this is possible, and I think it should be made possible. So that even, let us say you find it difficult to make up your mind at the UG level. So you have 3-4 years whereby during that, maybe after studying 4 years into it, you might be able to make up your mind. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. One more question from Angel Miss. What are the study tips for that you can give out to students?
Study tips. Okay. Study tips. I have felt that concentrated study, you focus your entire energies on study. That is a very rewarding kind of study. So rather than, half-heartedly studying something for a long time, if you give your focus study for a short time, it is more effective. So in medical college, we have had to study huge quantities of books. I'm sure you must be aware. For medicine, you have, such thick books, and there's nothing other than studies in those 5 years. So the way we used to manage was, one, good notes always help, whether it comes from seniors, whether it comes from teachers, that is definitely doable. But how you memorize, how you comprehend, that is a lot dependent on how much energy or focus you are devoting to the material. So focus study, so what I will say is that half an hour of focus study, give yourself a break of 10 minutes or 15 minutes, again half an hour of focus study, again 15 minutes break. At least that is the way I used to do. And notes are very important, because ideally notes should be, you should write your own notes in your own handwriting, because it's supposed to, seeing something in your own handwriting is supposed to help you with your memory. And I had this situation where, while I sit in the examination hall and a question comes, I can actually visualize that page. I have that mental picture of the page. Okay, page, the last answer is where the answer has, and maybe if you use some rending pen and blue colors help. So these are some small tips I can give. This is all what I used to do to remember in those times. But study, it is keep away from all your, the temptations of modern day, the temptations of technology. Give yourself, just devote yourself entirely for your studies. In fact, for the civil services exam, that time I didn't have much of the computer, WhatsApp, Facebook was not there. So in a way I was safe, but I had a small inclination to watch television. So what I did was half an hour a day, I used to devote for television also. So don't sort of entirely rob yourself of, or entirely, say no to all the things that you like. Give a short window and always stick to timetables. Timetables are fundamental to preparation. Without a timetable, you can't have a plan, you will not succeed. For me, it's not just for studying, even to plan my daily day-to-day. Without a timetable, I totally lose focus. In fact, my PS, the job of my PS, every day morning 6:45, I get an SMS in which the timetable for the entire day is laid out. That helps me plan my day, and that helps me get the maximum out of the day.
Thank you, Bina ma'am. We have some more questions in our chat box, but due to some inevitable programs that you have to attend, we are winding our interactive section here. Participants, you can post your questions in chat box. We will convey it to Bina ma'am. So thank you, Bina ma'am, for your inspiring words. That was really igniting our young minds, and you covered vast areas, starting from startup, then gender sensitization, women empowerment, then flexibility in academics. So you have covered different subjects, and that was really inspirational speech from you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Princy, before I sign off, I just had one last word.
Sure.
Yeah, Sushant Singh Rajput's suicide or murder, so that has actually thrown the focus on mental health. So while appealing on a lot of things, one request I have to the college authorities is that today's children are stressed out. The goals given by their parents and their peers, they are under a lot of pressure to perform. A lot of them have depression issues. Let us be open about it. Depression is a reality. Some put it at 10% of the population, some put it at 30% of the population. Especially young girls are very prone to depression. I think the college has a moral responsibility to sort of reach out to these girls, give proper, counseling services, arrange proper help for them. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your suggestions. So thank you, ma'am, once again for thank you for being here and also spending your valuable time with us. So we have our next session. And once again, on behalf of SOSTI, Secretariat College Devara, I'm thanking you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, team.
You please stay here. We have another session on mind. So our feedback link will post in our chat box soon. So please stay here. We will wind up soon. So our next session is an introduction of Mind, Mobility in Dystrophy. It's an NGO working on awareness campaign for spinal muscular atrophy and ways to get associated with. And we have Miss Veena Venugopal with us. She's the first television anchor in wheelchair. So she will introduce about Mind. And I think Veena is present here. Yes, Veena, it's your turn.
Ma'am, audible ano?
Yes, audible. Yes, it's audible.
Hi everyone. എൻ്റെ പേര് ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ ഒരു ചെറിയ ഒരു റിക്വസ്റ്റ് അല്ല നിങ്ങളോട് എല്ലാവരോടും ഞങ്ങളൊരു ഡ്രീമിന്റെ പുറകെ പോയിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കണം. അപ്പൊ നിങ്ങളുടെ എല്ലാവരുടെയും ഒരു പാർട്ടിസിപ്പേഷൻ ആവശ്യപ്പെട്ടുകൊണ്ട് ആണ് ഞാനിപ്പോൾ വന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്. നമ്മൾ ഈ ഒരു ഓഗസ്റ്റ് 1 മുതൽ 31 വരെ ഒരു ക്യാമ്പയിൻ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുകയാണ്. SMA അവയർനെസ് ക്യാമ്പയിൻ എന്നാണ് പറയാം. ഇപ്പോൾ SMA എന്നുള്ളൊരു വേർഡ് ഇതിൽ എത്ര പേർക്ക് പരിചിതമാണ് എന്ന് എനിക്കറിയില്ല. SMA എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ സ്പൈനൽ മസ്കുലർ അട്രോഫി പറയുന്ന ഒരു ജനറ്റിക് കണ്ടീഷൻ. ഞാൻ ഒരു SMA പേഴ്സൺ ആണ്. ഫസ്റ്റ് ഞാൻ എന്നെ ഒരു ചെറിയതായിട്ട് എൻ്റെ ഒരു സ്റ്റോറി പോലെ ഞാൻ പറയാം. ചെറുപ്പത്തിൽ എന്നെ സ്കൂളിലേക്ക് കൊണ്ടുപോയിരുന്നത് എൻ്റെ അച്ഛനും അമ്മയും കൂടിയിട്ടാണ്. കാരണം നടന്നു കഴിയുമ്പോൾ പെട്ടെന്നൊന്ന് വീഴുന്നൊരു ആളായിരുന്നു ഞാൻ. ഏറ്റവും എളുപ്പത്തിൽ പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നിറം സിനിമ കണ്ടിട്ടുള്ള ആളുകൾക്ക് പെട്ടെന്ന് മനസ്സിലാവും അതിലൊരു ക്യാരക്ടർ ഉണ്ട് ജോമോൾ ഉള്ളത്. അപ്പോൾ അവര് തട്ടി വീഴുന്ന അതേ ഒരു ക്യാരക്ടർ ആയിരുന്നു ഞാനും എപ്പോഴും തട്ടി. പക്ഷെ ഇതിന്റെ കാരണം എന്താണെന്നുള്ളത് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ആർക്കും അറിയില്ല. അങ്ങനെ ഞങ്ങൾ ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിൽ പോയി. എൻ്റെ ഒരു PG ലാസ്റ്റ് ടൈം ആയപ്പോഴേക്കാണ് ഈ ഒരു പെട്ടെന്ന് ഇടയ്ക്കിടയ്ക്ക് വീഴുന്ന ഒരു കണ്ടീഷൻ കൂടി വരുന്നത്. ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിൽ പോയി അവിടെ ചെക്കപ്പ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ ഒരു കണ്ടീഷന്റെ പേരാണ് സ്പൈനൽ മസ്കുലർ അട്രോഫി. ഒരു കണ്ടീഷനാണ്. ഇത് പ്രോഗ്രസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു കണ്ടീഷൻ. നടക്കുമ്പോൾ വീഴുമെന്ന് പിന്നീട് നടക്കാൻ തന്നെ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടായി വരുന്ന ഒരു രീതിയിലേക്ക് മാറുന്നത്. അങ്ങനെ കേൾക്കാമോ? ഹലോ,
Veena, your sound is feeble.
Feeble. Can you increase the
Little bit louder?
Okay, sorry. നെറ്റ്വർക്ക് കുറച്ച് ഇഷ്യൂ ഉണ്ട്.
Okay, Veena, okay.
ഓക്കെ, ഞാൻ എന്നൊരു കാര്യം ചെയ്യാം മാം. എൻ്റെ വീഡിയോ ഒന്ന് ഓഫ് ചെയ്തിടാം. കുറച്ചും കൂടി വോയിസ് ക്ലിയർ ആവും തോന്നുന്നു.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay.
അതിന് ഞങ്ങൾ അവിടെ വെച്ചിട്ടാണ് എൻ്റെ ഈ ഒരു കണ്ടീഷനെ കുറിച്ച് ഞാൻ അറിയുന്നത്. അവിടെ നിന്ന് ഞാൻ ഡോക്ടേഴ്സിന്റെ അടുത്ത് നിന്ന് എൻ്റെ ഈ ഒരു കണ്ടീഷനെ ക്ലിയർ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഇത് മനസ്സിലാക്കിയതിനു ശേഷമാണ് മൈൻഡിലേക്ക് എത്തുന്നത്. ആക്ച്വലി മൈൻഡ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് MA പോലുള്ള സ്പൈനൽ മസ്കുലർ അട്രോഫി, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഡിസ്ട്രോഫി, മസ്കുലർ ഡിസ്ട്രോഫി ബാധിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള ആളുകളുടെ ഒരു കൂട്ടായ്മയാണ്. ആക്ച്വലി ഒരു അസുഖം വന്ന് നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ ഒറ്റയടിക്ക് പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ അസുഖം വന്ന് തളർന്നിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു കൂട്ടം ആളുകളല്ല, ഒരുപാട് സ്വപ്നങ്ങൾ കണ്ട് നമ്മുടെ ലൈഫിൽ എപ്പോഴും ആരുടെ ആണെങ്കിലും ലൈഫിൽ ഒരു ഫുൾ സ്റ്റോപ്പ് വന്ന് വീഴാനുള്ള ഒരു ചാൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. നമ്മുടെ ലൈഫ് അവിടെ സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ആയി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഇപ്പൊ മീന മാം പറഞ്ഞ ആ ഒരു കാര്യം തന്നെ, സുശാന്തിന്റെ ആ ഒരു മെന്റൽ ഹെൽത്തിന്റെ ഒരു കാര്യം, പലരുടെയും ആ ഒരു വീക്ക്നെസ് ഉണ്ട്. ഈ ഒരു ഓർഗനൈസേഷനിൽ വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ഞാനും അതേ ഒരു കണ്ടീഷനിലായിരുന്നു. എൻ്റെ മെന്റൽ ഹെൽത്ത് ഭയങ്കര വീക്കായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷേ അവിടെ ഞാൻ കാണുന്നത് ലൈഫിന് ഒരു ഫുൾ സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ഇല്ല, നമ്മൾക്ക് വീണ്ടും മുന്നിലേക്ക് പോകാൻ സാധിക്കും എന്ന് ഒരുപാട് പേരെയാണ്. സ്വപ്നങ്ങൾ ഒരുപാട് കാണുന്ന, പ്രതീക്ഷകളോട് ജീവിതത്തിലേക്ക് മുന്നോട്ട് പോയിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന കുറെ ആളുകൾ, അവരെല്ലാവരും കൂടി ചേർന്ന് എൻ്റെ ലൈഫിലേക്കും പുതിയ പ്രതീക്ഷകൾ തന്നു, സ്വപ്നങ്ങൾ തന്നു. അതാണ് ഇന്നിപ്പോ മാം പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ ഇന്ത്യസ് ഫസ്റ്റ് വീൽ ചെയർ ടെലിവിഷൻ ആങ്കർ എന്ന ആ ഒരു ടൈറ്റിലേക്ക് എന്നെ കൊണ്ടുവന്നിരുന്നു. സോ ഇനി ഞാൻ എന്തിന്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ടാണ് നിങ്ങളുടെ മുന്നിൽ വന്നത് പറയാം. നമ്മൾ ഓഗസ്റ്റ് 1 മുതൽ 31 വരെ നടക്കുന്ന ഒരു സോഷ്യൽ മീഡിയ ക്യാമ്പയിൻ നടത്തുകയാണ്. അവിടെ ഈ ഒരു പറഞ്ഞ മൈൻഡ് ട്രസ്റ്റിന്റെ 3 കാര്യങ്ങളിൽ ഏറ്റവും പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ടതാണ് ഒരു റീഹാബിലിറ്റേഷൻ സെന്റർ എന്നുള്ളത്. അതോടൊപ്പം തന്നെ പറയുന്ന അസുഖത്തെ കുറിച്ച് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു കണ്ടീഷൻ. ഇപ്പൊ ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന ഓരോരുത്തരോടും ഞാൻ ചോദിക്കുകയാണ്, എന്താണ് ക്യാൻസർ എന്ന് ചോദിച്ചാൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എന്തായാലും അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് ഒരു ബേസിക് ആയിട്ടൊരു കാര്യം എനിക്ക് പറഞ്ഞു തരാൻ സാധിക്കും. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ എയ്ഡ്സ് എന്താണെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചാൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് പറഞ്ഞു തരാൻ സാധിക്കും. പക്ഷെ SMA എന്താണെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചാൽ പലർക്കും പറഞ്ഞു തരാൻ സാധിക്കില്ല. അപ്പോൾ അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് കൃത്യമായി ഒരു അവെയർ കൊടുക്കുക. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ ഒരിടം റീഹാബിലിറ്റേഷൻ സെന്റർ ഒരു ഡിഫറെന്റ്ലി ഏബിൾഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരാൾക്ക് അവരുടെ എല്ലാ ലൈഫിലേക്ക് എല്ലാ സന്തോഷങ്ങളെയും കൊടുത്ത് അവർക്ക് വേണ്ട എല്ലാ സൗകര്യങ്ങളോടും കൂടി ഒരു റീഹാബിലിറ്റേഷൻ സെന്റർ അതിലേക്ക് അവരെ മാറ്റുക എന്നുള്ള ഒരു രീതിയിലേക്കും ആ ഒരു ആശയം, അത്തരത്തിലുള്ള ഒരു റീഹാബിലിറ്റേഷൻ സെന്റേഴ്സ് നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിൽ ഉണ്ടാവണം എന്നൊരു ആശയം ഒക്കെ ആയിട്ടാണ് ക്യാമ്പയിൻ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഇവിടെ വേറെ ഒന്നും ഞങ്ങൾ നിങ്ങളോട് ആവശ്യപ്പെടുന്നില്ല. അതിന്റെ ഭാഗമാകുക. നമ്മൾ ഈ കഴിഞ്ഞ സെഷനിലെല്ലാം പറഞ്ഞ ആ ഒരു നിങ്ങളുടേതായ ഒരു ക്രിയേറ്റീവ് മൈൻഡ് ഉണ്ട്. ഒരാളെ ലൈഫിലേക്ക് തിരിച്ചു കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ വേണ്ടി നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കൊടുക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ആ ഒരു സപ്പോർട്ട്, അതാണ് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ആവശ്യം. ഞങ്ങളുണ്ട് കൂടെ എന്ന് പറയാനുള്ള ഒരു വാക്ക്, ആ ഒരു മൈൻഡ്. അതോടൊപ്പം ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഈ ക്യാമ്പയിൻ 31 വരെ നീണ്ടുന്ന ഈ ക്യാമ്പയിൻ ഒപ്പം ചേരണം. എൻ്റെ നെറ്റ്വർക്കിന്റെ ഇഷ്യൂ കൊണ്ടും സമയം വളരെ കുറവായത് കൊണ്ടും വളരെ ചുരുക്കിയാണ് ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത്. ഞാൻ അത്രേ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നുള്ളൂ. ഇവിടെ നിൽക്കുന്ന എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു 123 പേര്. ഈ 123 പേരിൽ നിന്നും ഈ ഒരു ക്യാമ്പയിൻ നല്ല രീതിയിൽ സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്ത് ഞങ്ങളും ഒപ്പമുണ്ട്, ക്യാമ്പയിൻ ഓഫ് ലവ്, ഹോപ്പ് ആൻഡ് കെയർ എന്നതിനോടൊപ്പം എന്നുള്ളൊരു വേർഡ്, അതാണ് നമുക്ക് വേണ്ടത്. നിങ്ങളും ഒപ്പമുണ്ടാകും എന്നാണ് പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കുന്നത്. വളരെ ചുരുക്കി ഞാൻ പറയാം. കൂടുതൽ ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് ഞാൻ ഇതിന്റെ കയ്യിൽ കൊടുക്കാം. അതിനോടൊപ്പം ചേരുക.
Hello. Veena, we will hand it over. Yes. Thank you, Veena, for your words were really inspiring, and all the very best for your future endeavors also. Dear participants, we have a brief session regarding ICC, Internal Compliance Committee of SH College, by Dr. Aima Nirikal, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany now. And we will post our feedback link in the chat box. You can fill that form and submit. It will be active for 30 minutes only. Hi, ma'am.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
yes, you're audible.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, Miss Keka, Miss.
Father Prashant Palakipalli, Principal, Dr. Veena Ma'am, students. I am here to introduce ICC, Internal Complaints Committee on Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace. Around 70% are female students in our college. I also like to make the beneficial committee aware about the potential, scope, and understanding of ICC. Let me start with the background of ICC. Devi is an Indian social worker from Rajasthan. As part of her duties as employee or worker of the Women Development Program of State Government of Rajasthan, she tried to prevent child marriage in a higher caste family. She was gang raped in 1992 by higher caste men, angered by her efforts to prevent the child marriage in their family. The rape survivor did not get justice from Rajasthan High Court, and the rapists were allowed to go free. This enraged a group called Ishaga that filed a public interest litigation in the Supreme Court of India. That is the case of Vishaka and others, State of Rajasthan and others. And in 1997, Honorable Supreme Court judgment in this case. Down the guidelines to be followed by the establishments dealing with complaints about sexual harassment. ICC is a quasi-judicial body for considering complaints of sexual harassment of women at workplace. As per the regulations and guidelines of Court and UGC, an anti-sexual harassment cell had been constituted in the college for considering complaints of sex. In 2019, anti-sexual harassment cell had been renamed as Internal Complaint Committee, ICC. ICC has always taken care to ensure women's safety in the campus. ICC is for considering complaints of sexual harassment of women at Sacred Heart College. A single complaint so far. ICC on a college website and the rules of ICC. The role and functions of ICC are uploaded on college website. Compliant procedure of ICC members also uploaded on the college website. It has two people as one of them is a lawyer, Kerala High Court, and the elected representative of Cochin Municipal Corporation, that is the Division Councillor, Ward 59, the teacher. ICC conducts programs in collaboration with the SOCI. Next month, ICC is planning to organize a gender sensitization program for the staff members and students, which also include discussion on sexual harassment and related laws to fulfill a sexual harassment prevention role and to empower men, women, and other genders. The program will give us information about various laws and rules which affect people as individuals and contributors to the society. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Aima Miss, for the brief presentation, participants. So we are moving to the last session of our program. So I would like to invite Dr. Gino George, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry and Coordinator of SOSTI for the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Princey. Actually, I think Princey is not able to paste the feedback right now. Right now, Tessa Miss, can you paste the feedback link?
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
okay.
I will post.
Okay, thank you so much. For the past 1 hour, we were listening to, I think, one of the most practical or thought-provoking message from Beena ma'am. I would like to thank her so much because she was touching upon many areas which we were trying to dig in. It is said that I love this quote which says that every experience, good or bad, is a priceless collector's item. So, students and I recognize the presence of my colleagues as well here. Thank you so much. But I think she has brought in many areas in which we can work on, like industry academic tie-ups, and not being restricted to our own small world, but capturing the beauty of the world. Maybe the travel you may not be able to afford, but in a way that you can expand the knowledge and the way in which our outlook, the way in which we look at the world, and taking risk in life and risking finance as well. That's what she was talking about in entrepreneurship. So many areas she was able to talk to us because she was an experienced person. She had an experience in variety of post different sectors of life. So I'm not saying much about that because you were listening to her so much. And take heart. We have a hope that we would be hitching our wagon to a star, and we would be reaching somewhere in our life. But the morality, the life values, we have to stick on to as well. So I thank ma'am on behalf of Swasti and the Sacred Heart College Tevera for her presence, for her motivating talk and everything. Thank you so much, ma'am, in her absence. I thank her father. We thank you, Father, for your support, encouragement for Swasti, and thank you so much. And now I would like to thank all the students who have taken time to attend this, because every word, we don't know what will inspire us, what will ignite our minds. So every word that we hear may be like it's there, and at the right time it will shine. So all the very best, my dear students, and thank you very much for your time. Keep attending the programs of Swasti. And I thank our alumni Swasti leaders. And I recognize the presence of my colleagues. Thank you, teachers, for your presence. And I want to thank a person so much for this technical help, that is Dr. Robi Cherian. Thank you, sir, your patient and efficient handling for the technical part. Now, I'm not prolonging. I want to thank the program coordinators who are along with me. I thank Tessamus, who was instrumental in bringing Beena ma'am. I thank Princey, who convened this program, has taken effort for every small and big things. And I want to thank the team of teachers behind Swasti, Dr. Asha Aji, Dr. Anu Cherian, Dr. Smita, and all the past and present team teachers. And we have a good team here for you. You can come to us for any task, like ma'am was talking you about counseling, etc. We have the ICC with us. Thank you, Aima Miss and Shanti Miss, for being in the ICC committee. And now we have planned a lot of programs for us, and Princey may be giving us a brochure about what our next program is. Kindly be with us. Thank you all. We love you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jinu Miss, for your kind words. Dear participants, we have posted feedback link in our chat box. You can fill that feedback form, and it will be active for 30 minutes only. And our team Swasti is organizing our next webinar on topic focusing forest, choosing the wild path. And our resource person is Dr. Abarna Purushothaman, a teacher and as well as wildlife photographer. So you all please do register for the same. And I will share my screen. It will show the next flyer of our next program. I think it's clear. So you all please do register for the next webinar series in the next week. So once again, thanking all and looking forward to seeing you in our next webinar. So let us wind up our session with National Anthem. Robi sir.
It may take 1 minute.
Yes, okay, ma'am.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Once again, thank you all for joining us today, and we will see you in the next time and in our next webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.